Imagine a world where everything you've been told about fat loss is a lie. A world where counting every single calorie is not just a tedious chore, but is actually working against your long term goals. A world where the very act of intense, grueling daily exercise might be the very thing preventing you from seeing those deep cut abdominal muscles you've been desperately chasing. For decades, we've been sold a simple, almost mathematical equation for weight loss. Calories in must be less than calories out. It sounds so logical, so straightforward, that we've accepted it as an unbreakable law of physics. But what if I told you that this oversimplified mantra is the single biggest reason why over 95% of people who lose weight end up gaining it all back, and often more, within a few years? The science has evolved, and we are now standing at the precipice of a radical new understanding of the human body, one that moves beyond the outdated concept of the calorie and into the dynamic hormonal universe inside of you. This isn't just another fitness fad. This is a fundamental paradigm shift based on a synthesis of thousands of new studies in endocrinology, neuroscience, and cellular biology. The new era of fat loss isn't about fighting your body. It's about learning its language, its rhythms, and its secret levers. It's about realizing that your body fat is not just a passive storage unit for excess energy. It is a highly active endocrine organ, communicating constantly with your brain, your muscles, and your entire system, releasing hormones that dictate whether you should be storing fat or burning it for fuel. The cornerstone of this new era is the profound understanding of insulin. For too long, we've been obsessed with the energy content of food, the calories, while largely ignoring its hormonal impact. Insulin, secreted by your pancreas in response to food, particularly carbohydrates and to a lesser extent protein, is the master storage hormone. When insulin is elevated, your body is in a store fat mode. It's not just a suggestion, it's a direct command. Insulin locks the doors to your fat cells, preventing the release of stored fat for energy. So you could be eating at what you believe is a calorie deficit, but if your insulin levels are chronically high due to a diet rich in processed foods, sugars, and frequent snacking, your body simply cannot access its own fat stores for fuel. You feel tired, hungry, and your metabolism downshifts to conserve energy. This is the brutal trap of the calorie counting model. It ignores the hormonal context. The new model flips the script. Instead of asking, how many calories does this have? The primary question becomes, what is this food's hormonal response? This shifts the focus from sheer quantity to powerful quality and timing. The goal is to create periods of low insulin, which is the green light for your body to tap into its fat reserves, a process known as lipolysis. This is why dietary strategies that focus on insulin management, such as a low carbohydrate or whole foods-based approach, often lead to dramatic fat loss even without conscious calorie restriction, because they are addressing the root hormonal signal, not just a superficial energy calculation. But the hormonal story doesn't end with insulin. We have to talk about cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. In our modern, always-on, high-pressure world, our cortisol levels are often perpetually elevated. And what does chronic high cortisol do? It directly promotes the storage of belly fat, the most dangerous kind from a health perspective. It breaks down precious muscle tissue for energy, which is catastrophic for your metabolism, since muscle is metabolically active tissue that burns calories even at rest. Furthermore, high cortisol disrupts sleep, increases cravings for sugary and fatty foods, and creates insulin resistance, further locking down your fat stores. The old school approach of just power through with brutal workouts and extreme dieting is a surefire way to keep cortisol sky high, making your body cling to fat for dear life. The new era of fat loss recognizes that managing your mind is just as important as managing your plate. It incorporates stress reduction techniques, mindfulness, and intelligent workout programming that balances intensity with adequate recovery. It understands that a stressed out, sleep-deprived body will never, ever reveal its best physique, no matter how perfect the diet seems on paper. Your mental state is not separate from your physical results. It is the very foundation upon which they are built. The data is unequivocal. High cortisol levels are a primary predictor of diet failure and weight regain, making stress management a non-negotiable pillar of modern fat loss. This brings us to the third pillar of this revolution, the microbiome. Nestled within your gut are trillions of bacteria that play a stunningly powerful role in your health and your weight. This is not speculative science. The data from human and animal studies is overwhelming. Your gut bacteria influence how many calories you extract from the food you eat. They control inflammation levels throughout your body. They produce hormones that regulate appetite and satiety, and they even influence your cravings. An unhealthy gut microbiome, often caused by a diet high in processed foods, artificial sweeteners, and low in fiber, is linked to obesity, insulin resistance, and increased inflammation. Think of it as an internal ecosystem. A diverse, thriving ecosystem helps your body function optimally, promoting efficient fat burning and reducing hunger. A damaged, imbalanced ecosystem does the opposite, extracting more energy from your food, driving inflammation, which promotes fat storage, and sending signals to your brain to eat more sugary, unhealthy foods to feed the very bacteria that are causing the problem. The new era of fat loss involves feeding your gut with prebiotic fibers from vegetables, fruits, and resistant starches, and incorporating probiotic-rich fermented foods to cultivate a healthy internal garden. This isn't just about gut health as a vague concept. It's about directly manipulating one of the most powerful regulatory systems for your metabolism and body composition. We are finally acknowledging that the path to a leaner physique might very well start by healing your gut. So, if the old model of calorie-centric, willpower-driven suffering is broken, what does the practical application of this new era actually look like? It's a symphony of nutritional strategy, targeted movement, and recovery, all working in concert to optimize your hormonal environment for fat loss. Let's start with the nutritional foundation. The goal is to reduce the frequency and magnitude of insulin spikes to create metabolic flexibility, the ability for your body to seamlessly switch between burning glucose from food and burning fat from your stores. One of the most powerful tools to achieve this is time-restricted eating, often conflated with intermittent fasting. The concept is simple yet profound. You compress your daily eating window, creating a prolonged daily fast. For example, you might eat all your meals within an 8-hour window and fast for the remaining 16 hours. This isn't a diet in the traditional sense, it's an eating pattern. During that 16-hour fast, your insulin levels have ample time to drop to a low baseline state. This is the metabolic switch. With low insulin, your body can now access and burn stored body fat for energy. You are effectively training your body to become a fat-burning machine. The data shows that this pattern can lead to significant reductions in visceral fat, improvements in insulin sensitivity, and increased levels of human growth hormone, which aids in fat loss and muscle preservation. And contrary to popular fear, it does not put your body into starvation mode in this time frame. In fact, it boosts your metabolic rate slightly in the short term as your sympathetic nervous system is activated. Now, what should you eat when you break your fast? This is where quality becomes paramount. The focus should be on whole, minimally processed, nutrient-dense foods that have a minimal impact on your insulin levels. This means building your plates around high-quality proteins like eggs, grass-fed meat, fish, and poultry. Protein is incredibly satiating, has a high thermic effect, meaning your body burns calories just digesting it, and provides the essential amino acids your body needs to repair and build muscle tissue. Next, embrace healthy fats from sources like avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish. For decades, we were terrified of fat, but we now know that dietary fat, in the absence of high carbohydrates, has a very minimal impact on insulin and is a superb source of sustained energy. It keeps you full, supports hormone production, and aids in the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. Then we have carbohydrates. This is where nuance is critical. The new era does not demonize all carbohydrates, it discriminates. The focus should be on high fiber, nutrient rich carbohydrates from non starchy vegetables, leafy greens, and low sugar fruits like berries. These provide essential vitamins, minerals, and that all important fiber for your gut microbiome with a relatively low glycemic load. The carbohydrates to strategically minimize are the refined ones: sugars, white bread, pasta, pastries, and all the processed foods that cause rapid, large spikes in insulin and inflammation. This way of eating high in protein and healthy fats with strategic fibrous carbohydrates naturally regulates your appetite hormones, ghrelin and leptin, leading to spontaneous reductions in calorie intake without the misery of constant hunger. You are no longer fighting your biology, you are working with it. Let's now apply this new understanding to the world of exercise. The old paradigm was more is better, leading to hours of monotonous cardio. While cardiovascular health is important, long duration steady state cardio can be a double edged sword for fat loss. It can increase appetite, and when performed in excess, it can elevate cortisol levels and even lead to muscle loss, which is detrimental to your long term metabolic rate. The new era prioritizes two more efficient forms of training: strength training and high intensity interval training, or HIIT. Strength training is the ultimate metabolic booster. When you lift heavy weights, you create micro tears in your muscle fibers. Your body then spends the next 24 to 48 hours repairing and rebuilding those fibers, a process that requires a significant amount of energy. This is known as the afterburn effect, or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. You are burning calories at an elevated rate long after your workout is over. More importantly, by building and maintaining lean muscle mass, you are increasing your basal metabolic rate, the number of calories you burn at rest, every minute of every day. Muscle is metabolically expensive tissue. The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolic furnace burns, making it easier to stay lean. HIIT, on the other hand, involves short bursts of all-out effort followed by brief recovery periods. A typical HIIT session might only last 15 to 20 minutes, but it has been shown to be remarkably effective at burning body fat, particularly the stubborn visceral fat, and improving insulin sensitivity. Like strength training, it creates a substantial afterburn effect. By combining these two modalities, 2 to 3 days of strength training and 1 to 2 days of HIIT per week, you create a powerful stimulus for fat loss that is time efficient and protects your hard-earned muscle, all while keeping your stress hormones in a more favorable range compared to chronic cardio. But perhaps the most overlooked and underestimated component of this new era is the critical role of sleep. You cannot out-train or out-diet poor sleep. When you are sleep deprived, it's a metabolic disaster. First, your body's production of the satiety hormone leptin decreases, while the hunger hormone ghrelin skyrockets. This is a proven biological response. Sleep loss makes you hungrier, specifically for high-calorie, carbohydrate-rich foods. Second, your insulin sensitivity plummets after just one night of bad sleep. Your cells become resistant to insulin's signal, forcing your pancreas to pump out even more of it, creating that fat storage environment we want to avoid. Third, as mentioned, your cortisol levels rise, further promoting fat storage and muscle breakdown. And fourth, growth hormone, which is released during deep sleep and is crucial for recovery and fat metabolism, is severely disrupted. The new era of fat loss treats sleep not as a passive recovery state, but as an active anabolic therapy. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is arguably the most potent supplement you can take for fat loss. It regulates your appetite, optimizes your hormones, and fuels your recovery from your workouts. It is the foundation that makes all the other pieces work effectively. Without it, you are fighting an uphill battle against your own physiology. We've laid the foundation with hormones, nutrition, training, and sleep. Now, let's dive deeper into the fascinating science of cellular energy and why the old calorie model is biologically bankrupt. The human body is not a simple furnace that burns fuel in a linear fashion. It's a complex, adaptive biochemical network. The type of fuel you provide your body determines which metabolic pathways are activated. And this has profound implications for fat loss. When you eat a high carbohydrate diet, your body primarily runs on glucose. Glucose is a quick burning fuel. Any glucose that isn't immediately used for energy is stored in your liver and muscles as glycogen. But here's the catch: your glycogen storage capacity is limited. Once your glycogen stores are full, the excess glucose is converted into fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis and stored in your adipose tissue. Furthermore, when your body is constantly running on glucose, it has no need to learn how to burn its own stored fat. The enzyme machinery for fat burning remains dormant. This is a state of metabolic inflexibility. You are a sugar burner, trapped on a roller coaster of energy spikes and crashes, constantly needing to refuel every few hours to avoid feeling hungry, irritable, and tired. This is the metabolic state that the standard high-carb, low-fat diet has created for millions of people. Contrast this with a state of nutritional ketosis, which is a cornerstone of the new era for many, though not the only path. When you significantly reduce your carbohydrate intake and moderate your protein, your body is forced to seek an alternative fuel source. It turns to your abundant fat stores. Your liver begins to convert fatty acids into ketone bodies, which are then used as a super efficient fuel for your brain, heart, and muscles. This is a state of metabolic flexibility. You have become a proficient fat burner. The implications for body composition are staggering. When your body is adapted to using fat and ketones for fuel, it has constant, easy access to your body fat stores. Hunger and cravings diminish dramatically because your body is literally feeding off its own fat. Your energy levels stabilize because you are no longer dependent on the next hit of sugar. The data from clinical trials shows that low carbohydrate, ketogenic diets lead to greater fat loss, particularly from the visceral fat in the abdominal cavity, compared to low-fat diets, even in the context of similar calorie intake. This is the nail in the coffin for the a calorie is a calorie argument. It proves that the metabolic pathway activated by your dietary choices can alter the energy equation itself, influencing how many calories you burn, how many you store, and how hungry you are. Your body's hormonal and cellular response to food can change the outcome, independent of the crude calorie count. This concept of metabolic advantage is further supported by the thermic effect of food, which we briefly mentioned. Different macronutrients require different amounts of energy to be digested, absorbed, and processed. Your body burns calories to process the calories you eat. Protein is the king here. Approximately 20-30% of the calories from protein are burned during its digestion and processing. So, if you eat 100 calories of pure protein, your net intake is only 70 to 80 calories. Carbohydrates have a thermic effect of about 5 to 10%, and fats are around 0 to 3%. This is another clear example of how the source of your calories matters more than the number. A diet higher in protein and fiber-rich carbohydrates will naturally result in a higher metabolic rate than a diet of the same calorie total comprised of refined carbs and fats. Your body is working harder to process the whole foods, which contributes to a higher daily energy expenditure. This is why shifting from a processed food diet to a whole foods diet often leads to fat loss without any conscious effort to restrict calories. The quality of the food is changing, the thermodynamics of your metabolism. Let's also shatter the myth of starvation mode. The old school advice was to never skip meals, to eat 5 to 6 small meals a day to stoke the metabolic fire. The theory was that fasting would cause your metabolism to crash as your body desperately held onto fat. The data, however, tells a completely different story. Short-term fasting, such as the 16-hour fast we discussed, actually increases your metabolic rate. Studies measuring metabolic rate have shown that it can increase by 3.6% to 10% after 48 to 60 hours of fasting. This makes perfect evolutionary sense. If you were a hunter-gatherer and food was scarce, your body needed to give you a burst of energy, focus, and drive to go out and find your next meal. A slump in energy and metabolism would be counterproductive to survival. Your body raises levels of norepinephrine and adrenaline to keep you alert and active, and it seamlessly switches to burning your own body fat for fuel. The feared starvation mode, or metabolic adaptation, is a real phenomenon, but it occurs in the context of long-term, severe calorie restriction with inadequate protein, and particularly when coupled with excessive cardio. This is what often happens to chronic dieters. The new era approach. Using time-restricted eating and adequate protein preserves muscle mass and avoids this adaptive metabolic slowdown, making it a sustainable and effective long-term strategy. It's about working with your body's innate wisdom, not against it. Finally, we must address the role of inflammation. Chronic, low-grade, systemic inflammation is a hidden driver of obesity and metabolic dysfunction. When your body is in an inflamed state, it disrupts the normal signaling of insulin and leptin. This is known as insulin resistance and leptin resistance. Your cells become deaf to insulin, so more and more is required to do the same job, locking down fat stores. Your brain becomes deaf to leptin, the hormone that tells you you're full, so you remain hungry even after a large meal. What causes this inflammation? A diet high in processed seed oils, high in omega-6 fats, refined sugars and processed foods, a leaky gut caused by a damaged microbiome, and, of course, chronic stress and poor sleep. The new era of fat loss is inherently anti-inflammatory. By eating whole foods, healthy fats like omega-3 seconds from fish, and a plethora of colorful vegetables and fruits packed with antioxidants, you are actively cooling down the inflammatory fires in your body. By healing your gut, you are sealing a primary source of inflammation. As inflammation recedes, your insulin and leptin sensitivity improves. Your hunger normalizes, and your body becomes more willing to release stored fat. This is not just about looking better, it's about fundamentally improving your health at a cellular level, reversing the metabolic damage that has been accumulating for years. Now that we understand the core scientific principles, let's construct a tangible day-in-the-life blueprint of this new era in action. This is where theory meets practice, and you'll see how seamlessly it can integrate into a modern, busy life. Let's follow a hypothetical day from waking to sleeping through the lens of optimized fat loss. Your morning begins not with a frantic rush for a sugary cereal or toast, but with a period of purposeful fasting. You've been fasting since your last meal the night before, and your insulin levels are now at a beautiful, low baseline. Your body is in a pure, fat-burning state. Instead of breaking this fast immediately, you leverage this metabolic window. You drink a large glass of water, perhaps with a pinch of sea salt or a squeeze of lemon to support hydration and electrolytes. Then you engage in your morning workout. This could be a strength training session or a HIIT workout. Training in a fasted state, as the data indicates, can enhance fat oxidation. Your body, with low glycogen and low insulin, is primed to pull energy directly from your fat stores. The workout feels powerful because your sympathetic nervous system is activated, providing natural energy and focus. You are burning primarily body fat for fuel during the session. Post-workout, the narrative used to be that you had a narrow anabolic window to slam a protein shake. For the general person seeking fat loss and muscle tone, this is largely overblown. You can wait until your scheduled first meal. When it is time to break your fast, let's say around noon, you do so with a meal designed for hormonal harmony. You prioritize protein first. A large portion of grilled chicken, salmon, or a hearty serving of ground beef. This will spike the amino acid leucine, which is a powerful trigger for muscle protein synthesis, signaling to your body to repair and build the muscle you just worked, not break it down. Next, you load your plate with non-starchy vegetables. A big salad with leafy greens, cucumbers, peppers, and broccoli, dressed with extra virgin olive oil and vinegar. The fiber from these vegetables will feed your gut bacteria, slow down digestion, and ensure a minimal insulin response. The healthy fats from the olive oil will provide sustained energy and further aid in satiety. This meal is incredibly nutrient dense, high in volume, and will keep you feeling full and energized for hours without the post lunch crash that comes from a high carb meal. Notice there are no refined carbohydrates here, no bread, no pasta, no rice. This is a conscious choice to keep insulin low and extend the fat burning period. Your body will continue to use the food you just ate for repair and energy, while still having easy access to your body fat for fuel. As the afternoon progresses, you'll notice something remarkable: the absence of cravings and the dreaded 3 p.m. energy slump. Your energy is stable because you are running on a mix of the fat from your meal and your own body fat. There is no glucose roller coaster. If you feel hungry before your next meal, it's a gentle, manageable hunger, not a ravenous, desperate one. You might have a snack, but it's a strategic one. A handful of almonds, a few slices of turkey, or even a small apple with some almond butter. These are whole foods that provide nutrients without a significant insulin spike. Hydration is key throughout the day. You're drinking water, sparkling water, or perhaps some green tea or black coffee without sugar, of course. These beverages support metabolism and hydration without impacting insulin. This consistent, stable energy is one of the most reported and celebrated benefits of this new lifestyle. It frees up mental bandwidth, improves productivity, and removes the constant obsession with food that plagues traditional dieters. You are no longer a slave to your next meal. You are in control. Your second and final meal of the day comes in the evening within your 8-hour eating window, let's say around 8 p.m. This meal can be similar in structure to your first meal: a generous portion of protein, a large serving of vegetables, and healthy fats. Perhaps it's a stir fry made with beef and a colorful array of bell peppers, mushrooms, and snow peas, cooked in coconut oil, or a baked pork chop with a side of roasted Brussels sprouts and asparagus drizzled with avocado oil. This is a satisfying, hearty meal that feels indulgent but is perfectly aligned with your fat loss goals. By consuming your daily calories in 2 larger, more satiating meals rather than 6 small, unsatisfying ones, you trigger a much greater sense of fullness and satisfaction. The protein and fiber are working on your gut hormones, sending powerful signals to your brain that you are well nourished. After this meal, you begin your fast again. You brush your teeth, a psychological signal that eating is done for the day. This structure naturally eliminates mindless evening snacking, which is a primary source of excess calories for most people. It's not about willpower. It's about creating a system that makes the healthy choice the easy default choice. The final and arguably most important act of the day is your wind down routine for sleep. About an hour before bed, you put away the screens. The blue light from your phone, TV, and laptop suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. You might take a warm bath, read a physical book, do some light stretching, or practice a few minutes of meditation or deep breathing exercises. This tells your nervous system that the day is over and it's time to shift from the sympathetic fight or flight state to the parasympathetic rest and digest state. You ensure your bedroom is cool, dark, and quiet. You are in bed aiming for a solid 8 hours of sleep. As you sleep, the magic happens. Your body releases pulsates of growth hormone, which repairs muscle tissue and mobilizes fat for energy. Your brain cleanses itself of metabolic waste. Your cortisol levels drop to their lowest point. Your insulin sensitivity is restored. This night of deep, quality sleep is the culmination of your entire day's efforts. It is the silent, powerful partner that locks in the benefits of your nutritional strategy and your workouts, ensuring that tomorrow you wake up feeling refreshed, energized, and ready to continue this positive, self-reinforcing cycle. This is the new era of fat loss in practice, a holistic, intelligent, and sustainable lifestyle. We have journeyed through the science and the practical application of this new paradigm. We've dismantled the calorie myth, embraced our hormones, and built a day around intelligent nutrition, targeted training, and prioritized recovery. But the true power of this new era isn't just in the mechanics, it's in the profound liberation it offers. For so long, the fitness industry has thrived on making you feel broken, selling you quick fixes, and convincing you that you need to suffer to see results. This has created a toxic cycle of yo yo dieting, guilt, and body dissatisfaction. The new era is different. It's about empowerment through knowledge. It's about understanding that your body is not your enemy to be conquered, but a complex biological system to be nurtured and understood. When you stop seeing food as merely calories and start seeing it as information, you take back control. Every meal becomes an opportunity to send a specific signal to your body, a signal to burn fat, build muscle, reduce inflammation, and heal. This shift in perspective is transformative. It moves you from a place of restriction and deprivation to a place of abundance and strategic choice. This approach is inherently sustainable because it is adaptable. It's not a rigid, one-size-fits-all diet plan. It's a framework of principles that you can mold to fit your life, your preferences, and your goals. Maybe a strict 16-hour fast doesn't work for you, but a 14-hour fast feels perfect. Maybe you perform better with a small, protein-rich meal before your workout. That's fine. The principle is to create a significant daily fasted period. The exact timing can be personalized. Perhaps you enjoy more carbohydrates around your workout days. The principle of nutrient timing can be applied. The core tenets remain. Prioritize whole foods, manage your insulin spikes, strength train, and sleep. Like your fitness depends on it because it does. This flexibility prevents the burnout and rebellion that comes with overly strict diets. It allows for life to happen, a social dinner, a family celebration, without triggering a complete derailment. You learn to make the best choices available in any situation and then simply return to your framework. There are no cheat days, only life. This removes the moral judgment from food. You are not good for eating a salad or bad for eating a piece of cake. You are simply a scientist observing how different inputs affect your energy, your body, and your well-being. This psychological freedom is perhaps the greatest gift of this new era. Let's also talk about the powerful, visible results that extend far beyond the number on the scale. When you implement this lifestyle, the changes are comprehensive. Yes, you will lose body fat, especially the dangerous visceral fat from your abdomen, but you will also gain or preserve lean muscle mass, which gives you a toned, defined look, not just a skinny one. Your skin may clear up as inflammation reduces. Your energy levels will stabilize, banishing the afternoon fatigue. Your sleep quality will improve dramatically. Your mood will become more even-keeled as you stabilize your blood sugar and reduce systemic inflammation, which is now strongly linked to mood disorders. Your hunger and cravings will diminish to a whisper rather than a constant scream. You'll experience improved mental clarity and focus, often described as brain fog lifting. These are not just side effects, they are direct, expected outcomes of optimizing your metabolic and hormonal health. The scale might not move as quickly as it does on some drastic water weight loss crash diet, but the transformations you see and feel in the mirror, in your clothes, and in your daily life will be far more profound and meaningful. This is about becoming the most vibrant, energetic, and capable version of yourself. However, a word of crucial guidance is necessary. As you embark on this journey, be patient and be consistent. The old model of fat loss did metabolic damage that took years to create. Reversing that and teaching your body to become metabolically flexible is a process, not an event. The first few days of shifting to a lower carb, whole foods diet might be challenging as your body transitions from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. You might experience what some call the keto flu, some lethargy, headaches, or irritability. This is often due to fluid and electrolyte shifts, and it can be mitigated by drinking plenty of water and ensuring adequate sodium, potassium, and magnesium. This phase passes quickly, usually within a week, and is followed by a surge in steady energy. Trust the process. Don't panic and quit at the first sign of discomfort. Similarly, with strength training, you are building a skill. Focus on proper form, progressively adding weight or reps over time, and celebrate the non scale victories like being able to lift heavier, do more push ups, or simply having more energy throughout your day. Consistency over intensity is the key that unlocks long term, permanent results. This new era is built on a foundation of real, empirical data, but it is also a return to a more ancestral way of living. It echoes how our bodies evolved to function, eating whole foods, moving with purpose and intensity, and experiencing periods of feast and famine. We are simply using modern science to rediscover and implement these ancient rhythms in a modern context. We are moving away from the processed, industrialized food environment that has made us sick and tired and towards a state of natural, vibrant health. This is not a temporary diet. It is a lifelong upgrade to your operating system. It is the end of the war with your body and the beginning of a beautiful collaboration. You now possess the knowledge that has been hidden in plain sight, buried under decades of misguided advice and corporate interests. You understand that fat loss is not about starvation, but about nourishment. It's not about chronic cardio, but about smart, powerful movement. It's not about willpower, but about wisdom. You have the key. The door to a leaner, stronger, more energetic, and more confident you is right in front of you. All that's left to do is to turn the key and walk through. This video is just the starting point, the map. But a map is useless unless you take the first step on the journey. I want you to make a commitment to yourself right now. Don't try to change everything at once. That's a recipe for overwhelm. Pick one thing from this entire video that resonated with you the most. Maybe it's committing to a 12-hour fast tonight. Maybe it's swapping your sugary breakfast for a protein-rich one tomorrow. Maybe it's scheduling 3 strength training sessions for this week. Or maybe it's simply deciding to be in bed 30 minutes earlier tonight with your phone in another room. Just one thing. Write it down in the comments below. Let's create a community of action takers. By writing it down, you are making a contract with yourself. And I will be here in the comments supporting you, answering your questions, and cheering you on. This is your time. This is your new era. Let's begin it together. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell because we are just getting started. And I have so much more to share with you on this incredible journey to unlocking your best self. See you in the comments.